Alright, today what I'm going to do is I've got my headphone amplifier. This is a Schiit Asgard. I think it's Asgard 3, and it has an issue with the switch. So you can see here I've already removed the switch, and internally I've just jumped the connections so I can use it in the meantime, because I was waiting for these replacement switches from DigiKey. So yeah, I'm gonna swap the new switch in. I've also got the old switch in there, but first we have to take it apart. So what I'll do is I'll remove to take it apart, you need to remove the 4 screws on the top there in each corner, and I think that's it to start with. So you just remove those 4 screws, and then you just pull that straight out. So there's nothing holding that on, but it might be quite difficult to remove initially. For the first time I had to like really kind of yank on that quite hard, but it does come off. So yeah, we'll do that first and then we'll go from there. Okay, we got the top off, got the unit apart. Something I forgot to mention is there is a nut and a washer on the after you get the volume knob off that holds this case on, so you have to remove that as well. Just use a shifter or adjustable wrench, whatever you call it. Yep, so that's off, and that's the PCB there, and you can see my jumpers there. So that's what I've done there is the equivalent of the switch being in the down position, and the switch in the down position means to use to bypass the plug-in. So if you've got a plug-in, which I don't, you can get I think an internal DAC for these and maybe other stuff, but with the switch in the down position you're choosing not to use that, and that is to those jumpers there connecting those points. That's the equivalent of that. So what I'll do is I'll remove those. First I have to take the PCB out, right? So to do that, if I remember correctly, you got to remove the screws on the back here, just this one, and possibly these two are you need to remove those as well. And then once you've removed those 4 screws on the back, this PCB should slide out, so I'll do that. Okay, so something else I forgot to mention, is you need to remove the bottom 5 screws off there. So I forgot to mention that as well. Can you tell it's my first instructional video? So once you've done that, this PCB comes out, just kind of slides out like that. That's a bit warm. Yeah, I'd recommend if you're going to do this, let it cool down a bit first, because right now this transformer that I'm holding onto is quite toasty. So yeah, that's the PCB removed. That little thermal pad there, make sure you keep that. Don't get rid of that, because that's kind of sits and holds this section here. There's some sort of grease on there, some sort of thermal compound maybe, and that would be, I would imagine that's cooling down some of the componentry on the top. Yeah, so now we've got this apart, and you can see I've already removed the switch, as I mentioned at the start. I'm going to remove those jumpers, and then I'm going to install the new switch. Okay, new switch is in, that's it on the right there. A couple of things, what I'll say is I forgot to mention is the screws are mostly Phillips number one, but there's a couple, the ones that hold in the IEC connector, the power thing, they're Phillips 2. This switch is not an exact replacement for the original, and if you're kind of fussy about appearance, you might want to, if you're going to replace one of them, you might want to grab 2 and just replace them both at the same time. In my case, the reason I'm replacing my switch in the first place is because I'm trying to find my old one. Because the old switch for me, when I took this unit apart, my intention was actually to fix the volume pot, because the volume pot was scratchy, and people have said that the Alps potentiometer in this is sealed, but there is actually a little, you can't see from the light, but there's some little holes in the potentiometer where you can actually get some contact cleaner in there. So I went ahead and did that, and that fixed up the scratchy pot issue for me. But then I stupidly was messing around with these switches, and I noticed that the switch for toggling the the source thing that I was talking about before, it was just kind of a lot of friction there, and I was trying to work it up and down a bunch of times to get it to come good. But in the process of doing that, this switch is now completely, like, it doesn't click at all. It's just sort of, yeah, it's busted. And the continuity between the pins, when the switch is in the different positions, it's just open. There's no continuity between any of these pins. So the internal mechanism for the switch is just completely broken. Some slight differences I noticed with the DigiKey part is this is a 6 amp at 125 volts and 3 amp at 250, whereas the replacements are a bit lower than that. They're, I think, at 5 amp at 125 or something. Where is it? 2 amps at 250 and 5 amps at 120. So to be honest, there's no way that there's that I don't believe anyway that there would be those kind of voltages up on the front here anyway on these switches, so it should be fine. Yeah, part number again. I did actually reach out to Schiit to ask them if this switch was appropriate, and they kind of just told me that to send the unit in to get it fixed up. Which is, I mean, that's good, you know, that's what you want. You want the manufacturer to look after you, but in my case, I'd already taken the unit apart and I'd broken it. Well, I didn't really break it. The switch was definitely faulty, but I took it out because I need to use this thing. Took it out, jumped at those points, and, you know, once I'd done that, I was kind of like, ugh, they're probably going to be pissed off at me for doing that and taking the unit apart. And it was just, I just said don't worry about it, and they didn't reply to me after that anyway. So I would not recommend you do this unless you kind of know what you're doing. And yeah, that's kind of, if you have the ability to get it fixed under warranty, absolutely do that. Schiit is a good company, I think, and they should be able to help you out. But yeah, if you're past your warranty and or you know what you're doing, then absolutely this is a pretty easy thing to do, really. Cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to replace the other switch, just because I want them both the same, even though they're pretty similar. But this one actually has a bit of noise as well. This is the gain switch, and when I toggle this one, there's like a crackle in my headphones because it's, yeah, I think it's either dirty or the switch was maybe faulty, a part of a bad batch maybe, which would explain why this one sort of shit the bed so quickly. But yeah, I'm going to swap this other one in. But this is more or less the end of the video. Once you've put your switch in and you know optionally clean your pots, you just put it all back together exactly how it was in reverse order, and that's that. Yeah, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Cheers, guys.